Good afternoon. My name is Jerome Karzak, and I'm Director of the National Road Safety Partnership Program, which is delivered by Monash University Accident Research Centre. I'm presenting today on CLOCS-A, an opportunity for all urban road users to be safer. And CLOCS-A stands for Construction, Logistics and Community Safety Australia. Now, for those of you who haven't noticed, Australia is going through an unprecedented infrastructure build at the moment. And before COVID, it was estimated at around, well, I think it was nudging up around 60, 70 billion. Now we're looking at 200 billion over the next sort of decade. And the thing is, these projects are often in the metropolitan centres of our cities. And a key to delivering all of these projects are truck movements. And they pose a significant increased risk to the community, in particular pedestrians and cyclists, especially as we focus on increasing the active transport of our populations. And as a result, there's an increased risk for them having crashes with their heavy vehicles that are supporting these projects, which is a key reputational risk for the project as well as the community. Now, the real challenge is to ensure that the spending on the infrastructure projects doesn't come at the expense of community safety. And this is the issue at the heart of it. Heavy vehicles are 4% of the nation's fleets. And the problem is, just looking in Melbourne from 2013 to 2015, before these major projects really got underway, heavy vehicles accounted for 50% of the fatalities involving crashes with pedestrians and cyclists. Now, if we move up into New South Wales and we look at where there's a concentration of fatals and serious injuries up in those sort of areas, once again, they're centred around the key population areas such as Sydney, Blacktown and those sort of areas here. So fatal serious injuries are moving along in these areas. And this is the Sydney area sitting right here. And you can sort of see how it's sort of concentrated in the sort of urban areas. So the question is as these projects go ahead and there's increased truck movements, how do we make sure they don't actually result in an increase in the number of fatalities? Because the thing is all it takes is a low-speed interaction with a truck, 12, 15 kilometres, and sadly, it can be fatal. And all you do is look at the history of this, and this really now broadens into, just looks at what the stats are. And if we go back around 2015, there was a fatality involving Rebecca Meyer in particular, and I'll start touching on her, and there's been many other ones that have taken place. And Rebecca was a 22-year-old gifted student from Denmark. And sadly, she was just killed when a truck did not see her. The Kenworth tipper was turning, and unfortunately, the two of them interacted, resulting in a fatality for Rebecca. Now, when they went through in the coroner investigations, there was two sort of angles that went in this. And this isn't about allocating blame to anyone. This is about all of us sharing the responsibility to go through. And as a result, the coroner made two key areas: focus on what heavy vehicles should be doing and should have, and what technologies they should have in place in the driver training, reducing blind spots and those sort of issues. The other side of the coin also is getting the public to understand where are these blind spots and how do they safely interact with the heavy vehicle. So two parts of the coin. But once again, it's more than just the heavy vehicle sector that flows into this. When we look at the construction projects, they're the ones sitting over it. They're the ones commissioning and have the power to put them in place. But a key part of this is the government contracts which underpin these sort of projects. They can define the safety specifications of the trucks, where they're going to be operating, the logistics that are flowing through, the driver training. But the other part is getting it all together so they're interacting. We all make mistakes on the roads. It happens daily. The thing is we all need to share that responsibility for doing it safely and getting all four of these groups working very closely together to make an impact. Now, all you do is look at when you're a heavy vehicle, and these are the blind spots that exist. And a large company like Hanson, small variances between different sort of truck types in their sort of fleet, and they kindly shared this with the National Road Safety Partnership Program. Now, one of the major ones when you look at this is the truck and the dog. When you center these are the workhorses for all these sort of major projects. And a lot of people just do not understand where these sort of blind spots sits. And for a truck driver, it's very problematic for them when they're moving through the city areas if people have no idea as to how to safely interact with these sort of trucks, especially when they're turning and these angles begin shifting even more so and their blind spots change. But the other part is other areas where mistakes get made, if we look at, are basically some of the designs here around urban infrastructure. Now, here's a great example on St Kilda Road. You have a truck will come along, and say the truck's turning left here. Where is the cycling box? So cyclists will come up and they will all be stopping in this sort of area here to go straight ahead. So say there's a green arrow for the truck to turn left, but there's a red light, cyclists cannot go forward. So what happens? This creates conflict. And it once again highlights the separation between two sort of groups. And both of them are doing the right thing and have the opportunity of how they should be moving safely. But it's going to create animosity and conflict. And I want to acknowledge Amy Gillett Foundation for sharing this slide with us. Now, the thing is it's not about going through and recreating something creating something from scratch. This is about building on what already exists. And over in the UK, Transport for London actually addressed this exact same problem back in 2013 when they sat there. And they began looking at, they got a Crossrail project building up, and they began exploring what's sitting around there. And then in 2015, they had a spate of fatalities all of a sudden. And the Crossrail project was a €55 billion project. And the Lord Mayor at the time, you may remember this fellow, he looks a bit older now. But Boris made the decision saying, look, he did not want to see this project costing lives of Londoners who are moving about their daily lives within the city. So they want to focus on getting people active on transport and using other alternatives. And they're building the Crossrail project, which is a missing link. It's a major piece of work. And then they had a spate of 6 cyclists dying in 13 days, which was a real catalyst to say, let's not do this. And there was also 11 standards taking place within the UK, which was creating confusion and issues for industry. Where do you go? You move between projects, and this is what quite complicates things. Now, so CLOCS was identified as the best practice approach, and they pulled it all together and created one standard. They didn't brand it as Transport for London. It was a standalone program which sits within their fleet operators recognition scheme, and it was centered around the key components of the standard to say, well, how are we going to get all these different groups working together to create an opportunity which lowers the risk for vulnerable road users and for truck drivers in particular, and for the major projects. So what they did, they had to bring everyone together and co-design and to build something which is acceptable for all groups, but more importantly, to break down these barriers so everyone's talking, everyone's sharing their knowledge and addressing the concerns so they all have clear buy-in to it. And as you can see, the diversity right here in this sort of group and taking it all forward. The key part also is to illustrate that this isn't just about major and big projects. As you can see here in particular, the small ones, small companies benefited in particular from it because they're given certainty. These mega projects, 5, 6, 8 years time, you can invest in these trucks, you can invest in training, you can raise the standard because you have confidence that you'll get a return on your investment moving forward. And that's why when you look over here to the side, you can really see the benefits that came through in taking this forward. So a reduction in crashes, complaints, and total collisions. Now, from us, we've been sort of looking at this within the NSUP for quite a while. And it's been quite a journey building this collaboratively, working with Transport for London. We held a webinar, and all these are freely available on the NSUP website. It's been a journey walking through. And over time, we then resulted in an MOU being signed between Transport for London, Melbourne Metro, facility and NSUP, which saw us every 2 months meeting and chatting and sharing knowledge with the leads over there. And that really helped the Melbourne Metro project understand the inner workings of these sort of projects. And we secured a small amount of seed funding through the NHVR HVSI grant. And NSUP was housed at ARB at that time. And so the Australian Road Research Board went ahead and actually successfully delivered that, which was then tabled in 2020. To really accelerate and highlight the buy-in, we held a joint webinar at the end of 2020, really taking everyone on the journey of, well, why does it matter? Why should we be doing it in Australia? Why can we use this $200 billion worth of pipeline projects to improve the safety for everyone, in particular projects, and improve productivity and efficiency? We've gone ahead and created an MOU, just like what TfL has done. And we've also begun promoting and sharing all these little pieces that are going on, which can feed into it over time. So we're certainly not doing this on our own. But the other part is just to illustrate, over in the UK, there was 11 different sort of programs underway over there, all creating some confusion for industry. So here we're sort of once again broken down by different sorts of states, but even then it's just the major projects which are moving forward at the moment. And there's some fantastic work which we can really build on and draw together from CLOCS and create into a CLOCS-A sort of approach. And so you can sort of see it here, you've got the Victoria, the HERA and the training and swapping seats, and then they've got a fantastic website up in New South Wales, these sort of key elements here in particular as well. And look, Be Truck Aware is probably a real standout piece, and then there's a whole lot of other pieces which NRSUP has been sharing and promoting, which we can all draw together. So what we've gone ahead and done with the MOU, we've created a group that's brought us all together. We have a number of technical groups in particular, and from that we have a number of chairs and deputies from a range of different organisations and skill sets to really feed into them. But we're centred around the driver, the vehicle, the logistics and communications and engagement. And I've got to acknowledge the huge in-kind support provided by all of these sort of people at the moment. And we're just looking down the communications and engagement as Melissa Weller was chairing that, but she's moved on to Healthy Heads, Trucks and Sheds. So I want to acknowledge all of these people for their great time and inputs. Now, one of the easy things that sort of flowed out of the out of CLOCS at the moment, which has been led by Chris Luce from Truck Industry Council, is just highlighting just some of the differences that exist between Australia and the UK. So not only is it around adapting CLOCS, but we also got to recognise that things in the fundamental elements are quite different between Australia and the UK, and we're doing that. And here's just a few of these little items, and this paper is freely available. It's a live document that we updated, but it's going to really help highlight this. And there's two sort of things I'll just highlight at the moment. Site underrun came into the UK in 1986, and we're still waiting in Australia. Fatigue, as an example, over in the UK, they use digital tachographs, whereas in Australia, it's not required if you operate within 100 kilometres. So just a few little things like this, and this paper really touches on all those elements we have to work on. Now, I've really got to sing out the praise to all the different partners that have been building on this. So we have an industry steering group, as you can see here, with a very diverse group leading and taking it all forward. We've had a number of supporting partners all signing on, giving commitments to grow the MOU, and there's another 45 organisations that sit around the periphery which are involved with the CLOCS-A, and they get regular updates. So it's moving along. We're quite excited. We're hoping some funding will be coming through from HVSI and really take it forward. And what I need to do now is really acknowledge the steering group who are investing a lot of time into this and making it a reality. As I said, it's all in kind, and we're all hopeful about where things can go. And if you want to get involved, please do reach out to myself or anyone within that sort of group. We'd love to have you involved in CLOCS-A or even NFCP. There is no cost to doing it all. It's basically all in kind. So thank you all very much. I'm excited about where this is going. I'm seeing a lot of traction. Industry is buying into it quite significantly, as they can now see the advantage, and things are shifting. They all share the value, see the value in sharing the responsibility for road safety. So thank you very much.